Jehovah Jireh, He's my provider. Ooh, yeah. Jehovah, hallelujah. We will. Jehovah Shalom, hallelujah. Yeah, yeah. Jesus, hallelujah. Jesus, hallelujah. We will make your name great. We'll present our bodies a living sacrifice. We want to tell the world you are awesome. You are faithful. You are well able. We will. Lord, you're great and greatly to be praised. He's a way maker. Praise God. Hallelujah. Lord, we bless you. Lord, we praise you. You're wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful Jesus. When I think about his goodness, when I think, I can't help but say, thank you. You're great. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your kindness. Great is your mercy. Great is your peace. Lord, we love you. Lord, we praise you. I will bless you. I will bless you. Wonderful Jesus. Wonderful Savior. Great is the Lord. Great is the Lord.
Understand why when life gets hard, you start to cry. Now you can dry all those tears that comes through feeds with his supply. So just like a medicine, just like a medicine, just like a medicine, like a medicine, a medicine. Laughter does good, like a medicine. Oh God, just like a medicine, just like a medicine. Now tomorrow may bring one or two things that you don't like.
And if it does, you can rise above, and win the fight. One way to win it is love.
Just like a medicine, just like a medicine, just like a medicine. medicine.
Connecting the community through gospel.
The new 107.9 FM, W300EB.
Macon and WDDO 980 AM.
Perry.
Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwinnett, Westbrook, and Mr. Dumas.
And good evening, and welcome to another segment of the NAACP Truth Show. I'm Willie Dumas, your host, and we'll be joined later by President Westbrooks. I hope you're having a great evening. It's a little warm outside. We're in the month of February, and we have summer-like temperatures today. I couldn't say that for the weekend. The weekends, particularly during the mornings, were a little cool. But the sun did come out. Matter of fact, we, the NAACP, we had a membership drive this past weekend on Saturday. We were located on the corner of Mercer University and Anthony Road there at the Advanced Auto Parts Place. Had a great time, gave away some free food, signed some people up to join the organization, as well as registered a few people for voting. And so we had a wonderful time. Hope you had the opportunity to stop by and say hi, or grab some free fish and some barbecue. President Westbrooks does an excellent job on her culinary skills. I think all of us in the organization can appreciate those skills. So we had a wonderful time. And also, we're still celebrating the month of February is Black History Month. And we'd like to highlight, if we could, some of the Black leadership in Macon, Georgia, that have contributed to Black history. And one of those people being our DA, Anita Howard, who is up for re-election. And so we want to say kudos to her for being the first Black African-American female to hold that office, and here in Macon Bibb. And so we salute her in her accomplishments, and we also hope that her supporters will continue to support her as she makes her bid for next term. Also, February is also, February is also Heart Health Month. Heart Health Month, for many years, have been celebrated in the month of February. And it kind of hits home for me here a couple of months ago. My wife experienced a heart attack. And so I know the importance of getting those checkups and making certain that we look at the signs of heart attacks and how that can change our lives. And so, we want to get out there and exercise and get those checkups to make certain that our heart is healthy. I want to read something here about, particularly about the treatment of heart disease and what heart disease is. It says prevention of heart disease involves taking steps that reduce the risk of developing heart disease. It includes avoiding cigarettes, a diet low in cholesterol and saturated fats, regular aerobic exercise, and maintaining a healthy body weight. And so we got to watch those calories. And, when you see yourself in the mirror, we want to do a self-check each day. And when you see yourself gaining a few pounds, then that's an indication, we may have to push back a little bit. It says good control of blood pressure and blood sugar and proper stress management are also important. We all know the importance of not being stressed out. Stress can cause a lot of other issues outside of heart disease, such as high blood pressure and some of those things. So the major risk factors for coronary heart disease are the following: cigarette smoking, hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, family history of premature CAD, and physical inactivity. The most common treatment options are medication, interventional procedures for blockages such as balloon angioplasty and stent implantation, heart surgery for very severe blockages and severe valve problems, and also cardiac devices such as a pacemaker and implantable defibrillators for serious heart rhythm disorders, and cardiac rehabilitation, which includes education and supervised exercise, and sometimes recommended after a diagnosis of heart disease. So, a lot of times, if you're having heart issues, some of the ways that you can help alleviate that is, of course, through medication and treatment, and also diet and exercise. I know my wife had to change her diet tremendously as it relates to her having a heart attack. And prior to my wife experiencing a mild heart attack, I was DJing a gig some years ago, and one of the attendees at that particular party ended up having a heart attack on the dance floor, and I had to render CPR to the individual, and they're yet alive today, and it's a very rewarding feeling knowing that you helped save someone's life that's experiencing a heart attack, because it can be very fatal. We do know that heart attacks many times are very fatal, and the person doesn't recover from a heart attack. And so, for those who have gone through that, it's a blessing that you're able to go through it and come back, smelling like a rose. And so that particular individual, of course, was very thankful in the fact that I was trained in CPR and was able to keep their heart beating until the paramedics were able to get there and rush them to the hospital. And so February not only is a celebration of Black History Month, but also Heart Health Month. And so get those regular checkups. If you've been feeling kind of tired, having some issues, that's tiredness or heaviness in your chest, you want to get those things checked out. You don't want to wait until you have a heart attack in order to seek treatment. And so there are some telltale signs that that we are experiencing a heart attack, or that we may be having issues that could lead to a heart attack. I know many of us know about the aspirin regimen, where you would take an aspirin to help, I guess, thin the blood, the flow of the blood, so you wouldn't get, any clots or anything like that. And so those are some small things, that we can do. You've heard some people say a glass of wine, at least, one glass of wine would help with our heart health. And so those are just some things we hear about. But the main thing is to get those regular checkups to make sure that you're not experiencing signs of a stroke, hypertension, or those kind of things that would lead up to a heart attack. So, self-care is going to be very important, and we've got to all do our part in doing that. Once again, the NAACP, we're continuing to fight for justice in a lot of different areas, education, health, just housing, everything that you could think of, that crime, all those different areas. And so we wear a lot of hats. We don't just wear one particular hat as it relates to discrimination, but we wear a lot of different hats. And so it takes a lot of work and effort to maintain and to oversee a lot of things that are happening in our community. One of the things also this weekend that we looked at is all the volunteers that came out to help. And so our organization, along with other organizations, we kind of team up to get the work done. And so we always applaud those other organizations out there that have the same common interests that we do, to make sure that citizens are experiencing, the proper representation and being treated fairly, because that's what it's all about. because nobody wants to be discriminated against. No one wants to be treated unfairly. And in order to do that, you've got to have good oversight. You got to be in place to kind of see what people are doing, not only in your community or your particular neighborhood, but also in the community, the committees that we have throughout the city, such as our board of water boards, our board of education, our commissioners board, all of those different places. We need that oversight to make certain that certain things are done. President Westbrooks has joined us. Good evening, President
Hello,
Westbrooks.
everyone. Hey, Mr. Dumas, how you doing?
Doing fine, doing
We had
great.
an awesome time Saturday,
We
and I want to
did.
thank you so much for your expertise. He's always there, and
Absolutely.
DJ and had the music going and had us. We had such a great time. At the same time, we were
Doing the
like
work.
Mr. Dumas said, we were doing the work. Just so thankful that I think we got almost 20 people registered new memberships on
Exactly.
Saturday. So it was worth it. We had a lot of good music,
We
good
did.
food, and so we just want to thank everybody that came out to support the organization.
Right. And so, particularly on a day like Saturday, started out, it was kind of cool, but
Yeah,
ended up
it
being a
did.
beautiful day.
It
And
did. It did.
so people were kind of, glad to get out and be out and about. And so we were happy to see everyone come through and enjoy themselves and listen to some good music and eat some good food and get a good cause done, by joining this organization.
Yes. And I tell you, people, we got so much work to be done. The struggle still continues. And this is
Yes.
why it's so very important. We ask people to join. You may not, so a lot of times people think that you're not working because you're not in the media, but I assure you that we're continuously working. And this is why we need your membership, because of the things that we do. It requires physical bodies to be
Absolutely.
in a lot of places, in a lot of things that we're working on. So just want to thank everyone that came out, all the members that came out that worked and did voter registration all at the same time, solicited membership. So I just wanted, and that was a part of celebrating our Founders Day, which it's supposed to have been on the 12th, which was last Sunday, but
Right.
It rained us out. So that was even better. We still got the work done, and I just want to thank everybody for their participation in the celebration on Saturday.
Absolutely. Now we've been covering a lot of different things. We talked about a hearing, that we attended with the Board of Elections and some of the things that happened with that. And I guess some of the things that may continue to happen if we're not staying on top of, what's going on with that board.
And one of the things that I learned today about that, and I'm kind of concerned, and I think that we probably need to set up a meeting to address that issue, that the media would not cover that hearing.
Wow.
And so, when it comes to certain topics, and depending on who the topic is about, you can't get news coverage. And I just want to, say that it doesn't look right for that type of situation, that type of headlines, especially dealing with voting rights and people being arrested
Right.
based on a law that was not even into effect, for it to go national and then the local news didn't
Not cover it.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. And I think that it's about time that we do need to set up a meeting with our media outlets to express our concerns as well, because they do us the same way, depending on what's the topic and who it is about.
Right.
They may come out, but then they won't even air it. So this is something that we have to be fair when it comes to getting the information out there, and it shouldn't matter who it is. If they're doing something wrong, then it needs to be exposed. It needs to be put out there. It shouldn't matter who it is, but evidently it does. So that's a form of prejudice to me.
Right.
That everything is not being done in all fairness. If you breaking the law, it shouldn't matter who you are. But wanted to talk about a couple of things that Mr. Dumas and I talked about earlier today. Some of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. And I don't know if you all remember, the audience remember, back last year, a lot of people were arrested at the park.
Oh yeah.
This with this racing. And I don't think they were actually racing. I think they're showing off their cars, and which still could be dangerous.
Right.
Somebody could get ran over, and it still could be dangerous. But the thing about it is, they had been, and it didn't raise an issue with the NAACP. It didn't raise an issue with me. Someone did actually inbox me regarding when it happened back in October of last year. They did inbox me about they were going to have impound their cars, and they were going to be keeping their cars for 90 days. So I did reach out to our sheriff at that time to express, my concerns about that, because someone had inboxed me. They didn't actually file a complaint. They just inboxed me, and I just called and inquired. And then, his response was that they were not going to hold anybody's cars that long, that they were going to be releasing their cars. But something ironic that happened, I just really think that everything happens for a reason, Mr. Dumas. God put you in places that you need to be in.
Right.
And I was actually sitting in court with another case. I was sitting in court listening to, actually in court with a probationer at that time. And there were people going up before the judge with these charges of reckless driving. And so you could hear, I was sitting in an area where you could hear people talking, whispering, saying things about their charges had been changed and people's charges had been changed. So I went outside just to, because actually I went outside to talk to a young man, because when he went up, he was not eligible for an attorney. And I asked, because, by law, you are, have the right to
an attorney,
to a representation.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not qualify for representation from the like public defender's office. So I went out and I talked to him. He didn't know, you just tell people that you're not eligible. He didn't even know why he wasn't eligible. So when I talked to the solicitor, one of the solicitors, they said because of his income. So I do know they do go by that but the thing that concerned me was when they was talking, it was 50 something people that was there, Black people that were arrested.
Wow.
And they said it's a couple things that concerned me. That some of the people that I spoke with had concerns that there were just as many whites there as it was blacks, and it was 50 something Black people arrested and only 4 white people arrested, and they actually watched people being let go and leaving their cars. So that is an issue. I did speak with our sheriff about that, but what was explained to me, that it was the state patrol and the sheriff there doing the arrest. So in court, one young lady mother would not let her plea to, they had changed the, unlawful gathering. That's a misdemeanor, and it normally handled in municipal court with a ticket. But they were actually arrested that day, and I guess because they had told them not to continue to go down there, and they went. But the thing that concerned me is, still it being a ticket, the charges have been changed to reckless driving.
Wow.
So they were not part of the driving part, to my understanding. And speaking with them, the people that normally show off their cars had not even got there. They were still at the store getting ready to make their way down there, but they were just spectators. So they've been charged with reckless drives. And the concern that I have with that, Ms. Dumas, and we are going to deal with it. When I leave here, I'm going to do open records request and ask for the people that were arrested on that day. There's 2 things we got to deal with. We got to deal with to find out why, if there were black and whites there, why we're only 50, why wasn't everybody arrested? Nobody should have been let go.
Exactly.
And the other thing is, reckless driving is a serious offense. It affects your license, and it affects your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects you if you're trying to find a job that
Requires.
requires driving,
Mhm.
that shows up on your record. Now, when I was sitting in court, listening to the cases, what they were doing was they were charging you a $300 fine, but if you were on probation, I know it was a $300 fine, but if you didn't have the money, which you wouldn't have known that
Coming there.
unless you had a private attorney would have. I just remember getting a ticket years ago, but I fought it, and they fixed it so the points wouldn't go on my license, but go against me. But they still gave me a ticket with mine. But I had gotten a private attorney. Had got an attorney. He said, "Well, just take the money with you when you go for the ticket, because they'll try to put you on probation until you pay the money." So they wouldn't know that. So they come to court, and then they are on probation until they pay the $300. But my concern with that also too is that how does that affect people license that's under, I think it's 22 years old. I gotta make sure, because they, depending on the offense, they'll take your license if you're under a certain age.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I think, we just got to look into it to find out who wrote the citation. Some people didn't even get a citation.
Wow.
They didn't get a citation. And so find out who, was it the county or was it the state patrol? Because this is what I'm having an issue with. Now, we're not going to allow the state patrol or anybody to come in and write tickets and change the ticket to make money.
Right.
And then, because that could have been, if unlawful gathering is a misdemeanor.
Right.
It should have only been a ticket.
Right.
A fine or whatever it was, and they just paid it. But these young folks are being put on probation, charged a $300 fine until they pay the fine. So this is, we're going to get some, I've talked to about 5 or 6 people that was in court. We are going to get some complaints filed. I need complaints filed, then we can handle all of them, all the 50-something people that were there. If they were charged with, and I'm hearing, looking at somebody say,
a penalty for reckless driving.
Yeah, but this is the thing, Mr. Patrick Davis. The fact is that it may be a misdemeanor. It may be a misdemeanor, which I don't have a problem with them charging them with unlawful gathering, because that's what their tickets say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their tickets say. Unlawful gathering does not have anything to do with driving.
Right.
So what it says is that you were somewhere that was unlawful and you didn't supposed to be gathering there, in which I wouldn't even get involved with it. The NAACP would not get involved with it if it was just that charge. But to charge somebody for reckless driving when they were not driving.
Right.
One guy said he was standing at the food truck buying something to eat, and they arrested him. He wasn't driving. So nobody was driving, and so, because the people that normally show off their cars was not even there. The concern that I have is that you changed the charge to something that did not happen.
Right.
If their original charge, if they were arrested for unlawful gathering, then that's what they should have been going to court with. Unlawful gathering, not reckless driving.
Right. And then, as you mentioned, the persons that would normally be showing off with the cars or whatever, they hadn't even arrived. So
they hadn't arrived.
People were just gathered waiting.
Right. And the other thing is that they're saying that people were of other races were there and they were not arrested.
Right.
They were let go. And so that's the issue that I have. I just hope that somebody has a video or something showing the people that were there. And so my concern is that nobody should have been let go. If they were there, regardless of what race they were, everybody should have been arrested. And that's what these young people concerns are, is that everybody was not arrested. So you can't target certain people.
Right.
If nobody's supposed to be in there, then that's what should happen.
And that seems that was the case,
And so I'm actually sitting in court listening to people that go up before the judge, and that's what the judge is sentencing, imposing imposing on them to, you're on probation until you can pay the $300. It should have never been that for. It should have just been a fine, a ticket, a
Right.
fine. It shouldn't have been no probation.
I'm looking at a response here. It says a pattern of practice means that the defendant has a policy of discriminating, even if the policy is not always followed. The courts have held that the Attorney General has discretion to decide what constitutes an issue of general public importance, and the courts will not second guess that decision.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. This is the thing. You can't write a ticket for one thing. You can't write a ticket for unlawful gathering, and
Right.
then you decide to change the ticket. You decide to change it to reckless drive when people didn't even have a car.
Right.
So that's the thing. Just because they were there, then their tickets was changed. I was looking at one of them's ticket that their ticket said unlawful gathering. So then they changed it to reckless driving. So how are we doing that? Which can affect someone's livelihood.
Right.
And so it may not be second guessed, but we're dealing with two different situations: discrimination and these charges being changed. And I deal with state court all the time. They make a lot of money off this kind of stuff, and we just want it to be fair. We don't want charges being changed to benefit a court to make money.
Right.
And these people, all these folks are being put on probation, and you have no idea when you're on probation in state court, even you charged with reckless driving, they're gonna drug test you. They're gonna have you coming in drug testing. You got to pay for the drug test. They don't pay for the drug test. You got to go to down here to this occupational health, and you got to pay to have a drug test done, and then you got to give them the drug test, which you should. And that's another thing we got to deal with. You shouldn't have to pay for a drug test that somebody else wants.
Right.
You have to sign a release for them to get the drug test results. So if they want it, then they should be paying for it.
I agree with that.
So that's something that we're gonna be dealing with. It's actually something that we gotta deal with. We gotta deal with that issue.
Absolutely.
We got to send a message. Also, I'm not, and we don't have much time, but I want to talk about this just for a few minutes. Senate Bill 178, the Making Water Authority Act, and I don't know if you all know that the judge in the Superior Court judge handed down last week that the people that the commission, the water, 4 water board members of our district attorney cannot investigate those 4 water. She don't have the authority, and I don't understand how they are elected officials. And so a bill has been introduced by Senator John Kennedy, which he was involved in this very thing with the water authority, with this gerrymandering, the way they redrew the map. So this is how all of this started with the board member Desmond Brown, when he blew the whistle about the way they drew the map. This is how all this started, with him being investigated. But this bill was actually, they're trying to change the bill, and it's not specific. I'm looking at the affidavit that Senator John Kennedy submitted on February the 13th, where he's trying to amend the bylaws for the water authority. And so it's not in the Pacific, but to my understanding, the governor right now has the authority as far as punishment. And it may be looking like they're trying to actually change it where the water authority board members will be able to vote and decide the disciplinary actions. But
come join us.
We just see now so they're not going to be able to be fit into this because now that this been done, that they can't be
The views expressed
investigated,
on this
but they
program are
can.
not
They're not a
necessarily the
private
views
entity.
of the
They're
Glory
they're
980
in
AM,
this
the Glory Media Group
affidavit written up.
LLC,
It speaks of
WDDO
a
AM,
county
its staff,
consolidated government
management,
or
or
governing
advertisers,
authority
but
of a
are the
county. So
views
they're
and
one of those.
opinions
They're
of
not
the
a private entity. So
participants of the
she should be able to
broadcast.
investigate whoever she